Kamchatka is a peninsula that has been dramatically transformed after a powerful tsunami slammed into the Russian landscape. And luckily for us, dramatic drone footage has captured its devastating aftermath. Before the tsunami hit, this was a quiet part of the world. But now it looks like something out of a sci-fi film, with the land completely changed in some areas. So what happened here? What caused such devastation to take place? Why is the land so dramatically changed in some places? The event, which took place in October 2018, was caused by a 7.6 magnitude earthquake, which led to the deadly wave measuring over 21 feet slamming into the shore. Luckily, there weren't many people around when the wave hit, but there were still some daring locals who were out and about. The wave caught them all off guard, and luckily they managed to escape. But their lives would never be the same again. When the full force of nature hits, there's nothing that can be done to stop it. This was the case for those living in the small village of Apalsia. They only had a few hours to pack up and leave as the destructive power of the waves started to approach their homes. But before they left, they desperately tried to protect their property from the incoming water. But it was a futile attempt, as the wave would eventually win. Many of the buildings in the town were destroyed as it hit, leaving behind a scene of utter devastation. Windows were smashed and debris was scattered everywhere. In fact, the whole town looked like a tornado had come through and ripped apart every single house. But amazingly, some of the houses remained standing despite being completely surrounded by water. It wasn't just the town that was affected by the wave either. You might wonder how far the water reached. If it managed to move big rocks, well, in some places it went as far as half a mile. That's how powerful this wave really was. One of the most amazing sights after the wave hit was all of the debris that was left behind in its wake. Huge logs that once stood tall in the forest were now floating in the sea. It almost looked like someone had taken a giant rake and pulled all the trees out of the ground. The forest itself looked like it had been completely shaved bald. All the trees were gone, and no trace of them remained in some places. However, some of the trees managed to stay upright, despite being surrounded by water. It may look like a scene from a zombie apocalypse movie, but these trees are actually still alive. The wave didn't manage to kill them, but it did cause some damage. Many of the branches were broken off, which means these trees will never fully recover. However, new life will eventually start to appear as nature begins to heal itself. The water which hit the area also brought with it a bunch of fish and other marine creatures. After the wave receded, many of these creatures were left stranded on the beach. The surface of the water was so choppy during the wave that many fish were thrown out of the water and onto dry land. These creatures must have been terrified. Not only had they just experienced one of the most terrifying moments of their lives, but now they were stuck in a place they'd never seen before. Luckily for them, many people came out to help the stranded animals. They picked up the fish and threw them back into the sea where they belonged. But sadly, not all of the animals were so lucky. Some of the smaller creatures were simply stepped on and crushed to death. Others were left too far away from the water and died of dehydration. But perhaps the most incredible thing about this disaster is the way it changed the landscape. In some areas, the seabed was completely exposed. This meant that people could walk out into the sea and explore the ocean floor for themselves. It was a surreal experience as they got to see sea creatures in their natural habitat without having to get wet. It was almost like walking on the moon because everything was so different and strange. But the seabed wasn't the only thing that was exposed after the wave hit. Some beaches completely disappeared during the event. Instead, there was now a massive trench where the sand used to be. The wave had dug so deep into the earth that it created a hole that could be filled. Even hours after the event, this hole was still there, and people were amazed by the sheer size of it. One of the most memorable parts of the disaster was when a local resident decided to explore the damage using a drone. The footage he captured is truly remarkable because it shows how much the landscape has changed in such a short amount of time. We get to see the destruction of the town from above, and it really gives us a sense of scale. We fly over houses that have been completely destroyed and see the debris that's floating in the water. We also get to see how far the water reached and how it affected the surrounding areas. The footage is truly amazing, and it really captures the devastation that took place. As we fly further, we start to see the true extent of the damage. Whole sections of the beach have disappeared, and there is a massive trench where the sand used to be. We can also see the small fishing boats that were left abandoned in the mud. They look tiny from above, and it really gives us a sense of scale. But perhaps the most incredible thing that we see is all of the trees that were uprooted and moved by the wave. They rescattered everywhere, and it looks like a giant wind turbine has come through and ripped them out of the ground. It's hard to believe that anything could be so destructive, yet nature does it all the time. But as we fly further, we start to see the first signs of life returning to the area. Small green shoots start to appear, and birds can be seen flying overhead. It's a reminder that nature is resilient and will always find a way to bounce back. In the end, this disaster had a profound impact on the people who lived there. Many of them lost their homes and had to start over. But they're a strong community, and they came together to help each other rebuild their lives. After the disaster, many people wondered if they should stay in the village or try to move somewhere else. The fear of another tsunami was too much for some, and they decided to pick up and go. Others, however, were determined to stay. They felt a connection to the land and didn't want to be scared of living their lives. As time went on, the community began to heal. They rebuilt their homes and businesses and tried to move on from the tragedy. They knew that life would never be the same again, but they were determined to make the best of it. Today, the village looks very different than it did before the tsunami. There are new buildings and a stronger sense of community. People still live their lives in fear of another disaster, but they're determined to be resilient. They know that if it happens again, they'll be ready for it. The story of the village is a reminder of the power of nature and the strength of the human spirit. It's a testament to the resilience of the people who live there and their ability to bounce back from tragedy. It also serves as a reminder for all of us that no matter what happens in life, we should never give up hope. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, then be sure to check out the next one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.